This episode of the Nerdball Podcast is sponsored by Jake Paluski at Real JP Multimedia. He does the music for this podcast. He has produced this podcast. If you need anything audio-visual done, he is the man to see at realjp.com, REELJP.com. Let's start the show.
Hey, everybody. This is Sam Rager, and this is the Nerdball Podcast.
This is the Nerdball Podcast with Lorenzo Melcher.
All right, Sam. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I am excited to nerd out.
Yeah. So the very first question I ask, I keep reminding people because there might be new listeners, but it's the new thing this year is what have you been nerding out about lately? It could be anything, movies, television, things you're doing. What's something you're really into right now?
I am super into skincare products. I could spend all day researching what works best and then making all of these fake shopping carts full of what I want to buy. I already have a cupboard full of stuff that I'm using, but I just want to keep on buying more.
What got you into that?
Fear of aging, I think. I used to work for one of my clients at a communications PR company I used to work for was a plastic surgeon, they made plastic surgery devices. And I had to read articles from like Cosmo all the time talking about wrinkles. And that was in my early 20s. So I've always been like pretty on it in terms of just basic sunscreen. But once I hit my late 20s, early 30s, I was thinking, I need to really get into this unless I want to drop a lot of money on plastic surgery, like in my 50s or 60s, because I'm vain. I'm very vain and narcissistic.
Do you think so? It sounds like you were forced to do this and you're like, wait a minute, am I learning these secrets that I should be just like hounding to myself now, and I'm gonna be the holder of all these special things?
That's exactly it. And then when I have friends who are like, oh, I have this kind of skin thing, or I want to prevent this, I have this little well of knowledge that I'm like, oh, have you tried using vitamin C oil to help protect against the blue light from your screen?
And you're like, wait, that's a thing?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you ever get because this happens to me with my profession, I know a lot about plants and trees and stuff. I went to school for that. So sometimes when people ask me a simple question, I go way too much than what they asked for. Does that happen if they ask you a simple question like, hey, how do I get rid of this pimple?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Because I go way into detail and then I'm like, oh, do you want regular beauty products or do you want clean beauty products that are only in plastic and metal? Not plastic, but glass and metal containers.
Yeah.
Because let's avoid those toxins.
Yeah. You got that's amazing. That's I wouldn't have expected that. Not that your skin looks horrible. It looks wonderful. It's just something you don't think about, I guess, is me, I'm a man. I don't really think about I just got to shave and that's about it. So
it's so you don't use SPF?
No, I'm Mexican, so I don't really burn ever. So
you could still get skin cancer.
This is true. You're very right. But because I work outside, I don't like wearing sunscreen, so I wear long sleeves and pants all the time. So I do protect myself. Just
that's responsible.
Yeah, just not by wearing it. I only got burned one time in my entire life. I was at my high school track meet. I was wearing my track jersey, so a little tank top, and I come home. I was outside for 10 hours, and I come home and I get out of the shower and my shoulders hurt a little bit. I asked my dad, is something wrong with my shoulders? He goes, yeah, it looks like you got sunburn. I'm like, oh, that's what that is. I was 18 years old before I figured out what a sunburn was.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so beautiful. And you're being responsible because sunscreens, and sunscreens, not only do you have to make sure they're like reef safe, because there's that kind that the non-mineral sunscreens which kills the reefs in the ocean, but there's also the US doesn't have as strict of FDA things, like
Naturally.
FDA rules, as Europe does. And so uh, over like half of sunscreens that this one company tested, and they're like super popular, very common sunscreens, even mineral based ones, contain an ingredient that causes blood cancer.
Oh my.
Yeah. And so it's like, do I take skin cancer or blood cancer? It's like those are your options.
What a horrible, horrible option. What a horrible game of would you rather. Oh, so when you're not worried about skincare and all that stuff, are you still doing stand-up comedy?
Yeah, I still do
Awesome.
it. I still
Okay.
do. Hmm.
That's how we met,
Um,
through doing stand-up. And one of my favorite nights ever. And every once in a while, I'll still I think probably when you share it, but I'll go back. I'm like, oh yeah, I was at that album recording. I'll listen to that album recording.
Hey, that makes me so happy. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write so much after this album comes out, and nothing I've written I've been happy with. I'm like, oh, this is okay. This is adequate.
Is that because I didn't get that far. Is that something normal? Like, do people feel like it's never good enough?
Yeah, I know a lot of folks too who I think are better than I am, who never they never put out anything like
Hmm.
even like that first album, because um they just they don't believe in themselves enough. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Well, you can tell someone, so tell you blue in the face, like you're awesome, you're great. But if they don't feel that themselves, it doesn't really matter.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So you're still bouncing around doing stand-up comedy, which is it's great to hear. And are you for a while you were running a show? Are you still doing that too or no?
No, even though it's an open mic, it became so anxiety inducing for
Oh
me
no.
because and I don't know if like if you felt that way going to some mics, but when you see like a newer comic come in and you're like, what are they gonna say? Like,
Hmm.
it's because with those brand new classes that come in, basically it's half of the time it's like edgelord, cringy, are we gonna get kicked out this time, material. And so I handed the reins off to some other comics who
Mm,
kept the show alive, which I'm happy about, because
yeah.
the coffee house that it was at is very into comedy and will support the comics over a lot of the Patreon or patrons most of the time. So
Oh wow. Okay. That's
they
that's
they
that's nice. Yeah.
yeah, it's rare. It is so
Yeah.
rare. A lot, so many.
Well, I don't know how many comedy shows start with so probably probably a lot of you don't realize there's a comedy show tonight.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Oh, it's like a guerrilla comedy, just like hiding out, like waiting to surprise these people just wanting to have dinner.
yeah. Yeah.
What do
Um
you miss most about surprise comedy?
so oh my gosh, I think um I would love when I would go to new places because for that reason, like how are these people going to be how are they going to be are they going to be receptive to what we're doing here right now? And if they're not, then trying to make them or trying to win them over, I should say, to like, yeah, I maybe I'll come out next time when they're having another comedy show.
Mhm.
It's
The jam.
yeah, yeah, it's hard to know what you're gonna gonna get into, and I guess that's part of comedy too. Like, A, are my jokes going to be good enough? But B, is this audience going to care? And I learned pretty quick, like open mics, I don't really care if the audience cares as much because I just want to get these jokes out so I can hear them and go from there.
Yeah, I I have an ego thing with open mics too, because there's like always there's newer comics and they are trying really hard because this is it for like they don't have like other shows besides open mics that they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so they will put it all out on the line, and then I go and there's normally at least like a small handful of newer comics that are like cross-armed, like looking uh annoyed, like why does this person get booked on things?
Mm-hmm.
And my ego is like, it's because I don't do my A game at open mics. This is new material. Let me be vulnerable.
Yeah, and they don't. It does take a while to learn. Like, oh yeah, this is what open mics are for. But you're right; they're trying to hit home runs because this is it. That
Yeah.
a lot of times too when I did the show at the Black Cloister for a little bit in Toledo with my brother-in-law, I liked it because it was more like a showcase, so I got to pick and choose kind of who was going to be there, which limited that factor. Is what's this person going to say? I still didn't care like what the comic did, but I knew that person, so it made it a little bit not as scary to see them go up there.
Yeah, that was a fun show. Mhm. And I liked being able to see you perform like longer sets there too.
Yes. Yeah, because you don't get that a lot. It's a hey, we have 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or 7 minutes. And you learn to that's how it's gonna be, and it helps you
Yeah.
especially for me, I was more of a storyteller, so I had to get all the funny parts out of the story in 3 or 5 minutes. So it made me work a little bit more.
Yeah, you're so good. You're so funny.
Oh well, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. It's I wish I could do it more, but it's just real low on the list of things I do now. It's it's always going to be there, I think, for me if I want to do it. I mean, Toledo has exploded after, I don't say after COVID, but since stuff since stuff opened back up a little bit, I think there's 4 or 5 open mics here now. So it's something I could do if I want
Yeah.
to. And once my kids kind of get older, I mean, we're always running around doing stuff. This summer, I'm coaching high school football. I'm assistant coach on my son's travel baseball team, and I'm the head coach of my daughter's 7 and 8 year old softball team. So there's a lot going on.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
That is bananas.
yeah.
That is ridiculously busy.
On
Oh my.
on top of work, my wife works and I work, and so I'm just we're the only siblings around here that have kids, so I can't imagine like my sister lives in Louisville, so if she was here like having to go to all that stuff too, so I can't imagine how people get all that stuff. So sometimes cousins, if the cousins were here, they'd have to be left out.
Do you ever get like super invested into like high school or elementary school sports? Like are there teams that you hate, or like are there teams that you despise?
So and definitely in high school, because I coach a varsity football team now, so we definitely have our rivals, we definitely have the teams we don't like, and a lot of that comes, it's not so much like hey we hate them, but it's hey let's beat them. For us there's a school, our rival is Maumee High School, and they're actually leaving our league, so we won't be playing them anymore, and this is our last year, and we play for this big bell every year. And we've kind of lost out, like, yeah, they're kind of our rivals, but they haven't been good in a long time. I think we beat them like 9 out of 10 years the past 10 years. But we have a new rival, and they're gonna take their place and everything. But there is in high school there is those rivalries, and it mostly comes from seeing the kids that I coach. It's like, oh yeah, they really want to beat them, so it makes me want to jump on that on that train too. But
That is awesome.
yeah, but as far as my little kid, the little kid stuff is now just go out there, have fun. Let's see what happens, and we can talk smack about a 7-year-old when we get home.
Yeah, you're not keeping track of the first string players.
No, not so much. So you supplement your, I'm assuming you supplement your comedy income with a quote unquote normal job.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's super exciting for you or if it's just something you're a little bit into right now. But what is it? I'm curious because I always like to know what comics do, for their job.
Yeah, so I do product training on software that connects to learning management systems
Okay.
like schools use. I'm not sure what your kids use, whether they use Blackboard or Moodle or Canvas. But
None
we
of those sound familiar, but I'm not as invested in my children's school as their athletics. So
but we take that data and we make it into out of the box reports. So if people aren't that handy with Excel, they don't have to worry about making any of that.
oh,
We
okay,
just
yeah.
yeah. And I train and onboard schools and companies to use these products, and I love it. I did not expect that it would be something that I would enjoy doing because I'm not the most tech savvy person, but
Mhm.
it's inspired me to go out and dig my claws into a lot of like certification training
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, getting more into like the tech world.
Yeah, that's something I've always avoided because all my jobs have been outside. So it's hard to um anytime I want to like even Excel, like it's hard for me to make spreadsheets and stuff, or even I know how to input things, but how to use formulas and how to use all that stuff. It's something I'm a supervisor now, so it's something I have to work on, but it's never been like I don't want to sit at a desk or I don't want to look at this computer all day. But it's something you, like you said, you were surprised that you got into it as much as you did.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the company I work for. It's been a long time since I've worked for a place that I have truly enjoyed. I started having doubts. I'm like, do people actually have healthy workplaces? Is this maybe it's a me problem that like I've had so many bad experiences.
Oh no.
But then I found this place. I'm like, oh no, it was in other places
Nice.
problem.
Well, that had to make you feel good too.
Yes. I'm like, okay, I'm not losing it. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel a lot uh mentally stronger.
How long have you worked for them?
A bit over a year now.
Oh, okay. So it's a newer thing.
Mhm.
How I know with, well, obviously with stand up comedy, you gotta be in front of people and talking to people. Is it different when you're like training people to use this stuff, or is it kind of the same muscles as far as like I can do this, I can talk in front of people and know what I'm doing?
I'm great at striking up conversation with them, like in between training. If I'm waiting to hear back from somebody who's more tech savvy than I am
Mhm.
internally, I'm excellent at killing time. But uh, I think I still have confidence issues in terms of teaching folks how to use the tech. So I end statements in a bit of a question mark. Like, here's this report. It can do this.
Wow. Okay. So
uh,
and they're probably thinking like, wait, are you sure? Like,
yes. So many times we're like, can we have somebody else on this call too, just to double check?
is your trainer around still or yeah? Do you think that's it's because you're not confident that you know the information?
Yeah, I think that too. I think
Okay.
second guessing myself, and so that's what I'm also working on therapy right now is not being afraid to assert myself and speaking with confidence.
Yeah, that's such a hard it's such a hard thing to learn, or even do, because how often, especially when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, how often are you put in that situation where you're forced to do that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So little.
Mhm.
But then like I've worked with a ton of other people who are confidently wrong about things.
You're like, how do you get that way?
Yeah. And then like I've had clients be like, yeah, like this person knows what they're talking about. I was like, you can try it, but it's not gonna work. But oh, I can't imagine.
No, and it's something I struggled with for a long time, and I've said it several times on this podcast, but I never thought I would get to the point where I could do this and just talk to people and have conversations with people. But it's easy now, and it's just it's through a lot of work. It's through repetition. All of this times doing this, or talking to parents and coaching, even talking to kids, talking to 7-year-olds on how to throw a baseball. Like all that helps, you know, uh, get you practice or get you motivated or makes you feel better about doing other things in front of adults that matter as opposed to a 7-year-old.
Talking to kids terrifies me.
Yes.
I'm so awkward with them. I'm nervous that any conversation is gonna turn into like a therapy session for them down the road. Like
Yeah.
they remember like, oh, there's this old woman was mean to me one time when I was 8. I I am just so yeah, I'm nervous about messing them up accidentally. Or like not I think I'm being nice, but I'm like, well, what if in their little 8-year-old eyes I'm not being nice?
Well, I went to Mike Czar had an album release, or he recorded an album, and I went to that. He had a great joke. It was he's like, parenting is like diffusing a bomb. You don't know if you cut the right wire until 18 years later. I was like, oh, that was such a great joke. I messaged him. I was like, as a parent, that's a great joke. As a comic, I'm jealous that I didn't think of that joke.
Oh, yeah, he's such a phenomenal joke writer. He
Mhm.
is like one of very few period jokes from like a men's like it's
Oh
hard.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did that one too. That was such a that was such a good joke, and I'm so glad like some of these jokes he said because I've known Mike for a long time. Like, oh man, I'm glad that joke was from years ago, but I'm glad he likes it enough to put it in this album.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Same. I'm excited for it to come out
yeah,
eventually.
yeah.
Yes.
It's a weird thing to hear people like, oh, they're on Spotify or they have this album, or and then I think to myself like, well, I'm on there too, but but I see it differently because I'm just me and they're them. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's like easy for us to be like our own worst critic or downplay our
Always.
own accomplishments. Yeah. Do you think it has it always been easy to speak to people in person and for you, or did it take a while for that to be like a natural skill?
No, it definitely took a while. I was super shy. I'm really shy in high school. I had my friends that everyone has their group of friends that they can open up and just be themselves. I had that. But as far as like having to speak to strangers or having to speak to a boss or something, it was I could make do. But then after a while, it was like I said, I started coaching when I think I was 20. I helped coach my sister's softball team when she was 13. So that helped me get going. And uh and then I took a speech class when I went to Owens Community College, and which was already nerve-wracking, but it was more nerve-wracking when the first day showed up and my mom was also in that class. um, so
That sounds amazing.
yeah, no, it wasn't. I love my mom, and it worked out fine. But it was like, oh my gosh, now I gotta like write these speeches, and my mom's here too. Like, yeah.
Do you think that you would have like slacked off in the class if she wasn't there? Or do you think you would have been able to talk about other topics than what you talked about if
Uh,
she wasn't there?
I don't know. Probably slacked off. I wasn't a very good college student, right out of high school. So she probably, just by her being there, made me a better student in that class. But our speeches were kind of right about this. It wasn't like, here, make your own thing up or whatever. So we were kind of forced to. We had a topic, so as far as the writing material, it wasn't going to change or anything.
Did you both get competitive about grades and stuff?
I don't remember. I don't think so. My mom's always been a very good student. She got really good grades. She had to work really hard when she was in high school, but she always got really good grades. So I'm sure she got a better grade than I did. I should talk to her about her experience. I never even asked her about what it felt like having her son in a class.
Yeah, how would you feel taking a class with one of your kids?
I don't know. They'd be so different 10 years from now. So it's hard to think about. Like right now I could do it because they're little and I know exactly what they're going to do. But as they get older, you have no idea what they're going to do or say. They're still predictable. So, um, one thing I would like to talk about, and you don't have to if you don't want to. You're pretty open though. Is you mentioned you're in therapy. I'm in therapy. I go very sporadically. It's almost like whenever I feel like it or want to talk to somebody else, I'll email my therapist and go talk to her. But I really like doing it. It's a lot of it's fun. It's which some people may not feel like it's fun, but I like doing it because it's somebody else that can give me perspective on whatever's happening. Especially her, because she's really good at just being blunt and just saying, "Oh, you should do this," or "That's a good idea," or "Not a good idea." How long have you been in therapy for?
I used to go super, super sporadically. So I started my first time going to therapy was when I was um it was when I was 18, and it
Okay.
was like right after my mom passed away.
Mm.
And then I went for the rest of that semester. It was through the college. I saw their tippy top person there because they were afraid that I was like a risk, like a at
Okay.
risk student. And
Yeah.
then I saw one after breakup in college, but then it took until I was in my late 20s and had like a mental breakdown at work before I started seeing one regularly. Um, and then it became almost like dating, where I had to try to find one that fit,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
I found a great one, and then she stopped practicing for a bit, and then I started cycling through all these therapists to try to find one like her. And for my therapy style, I prefer like the cognitive behavioral therapy, where they give you like assignments to do, or give you uh, kind of tasks for you to accomplish between sessions. And I love that. It makes me feel very proactive, like I am moving forward, or taking steps to better myself. Whereas like the other therapists I was seeing just were quiet and just were talk to us. We are not going to give any feedback. We're just
Mm.
here to listen. And I'm like, I don't like that. I want interaction,
Yeah.
especially when it with Zoom sessions, when they were just like silent and just staring, and we're just
Like, are you frozen?
looking.
Is it frozen? What's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it was cool. To I when I first went to my therapist, I found her from a recommendation from a friend at work, and I was having difficulties because I did not want to go to my parents' house for holidays because my brother was going to be there, and at the time, he's since passed away, but at the time, he's really into drugs, and I was like, Dad, I just don't know what's going to happen, and I don't want to have my the kids there. I'm just afraid, and I went before I even talked to my parents. I went to a therapist to ask her, like what should I do here? How do I navigate this? She's pretty good at not giving me like do this, but giving me choices or giving me ways to talk to my parents or my brother at the time. And it really helped. it didn't help. My parents were pretty mad about it. But after some other things happened, they understood why, why I didn't want to go over there. But it was, I don't know if I would have been able to talk to my parents about that kind of stuff if it wasn't for her.
Yeah, they like good therapists are fantastic in being the catalyst or facilitating those kinds of heavy conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Not the client therapists, but the good ones. The
Yeah,
good ones are my
go ahead.
yeah, that my old therapist started practicing again, and I was like, yes, I get to see you again, and we get to have these awesome conversations. But there's some heavy things, or some prior experiences, especially with family members, that it's like you don't realize how much of an effect it has on you, and being able to like parse out those feelings, or being able to look at events in from the lens of where you are now versus where you were when those events took place.
Yeah, and they're I mean, I guess that's their job to make you go through that stuff, even if you don't want to. And it might take it might take several times before you finally, all right, let's talk about this or not. I'm pretty like, I have an hour. Here's everything I'm going to talk about, and sometimes I'll just talk and talk and talk, and she doesn't really, because not because she's silent, but because there's no there's no space for her to talk. But it makes me feel better, and I've told her that too sometimes, where I might just talk the whole time, and just because I feel better when I just get everything out, because it's, you can't um being someone impartial makes it easier just to throw all this stuff out there, also knowing like she's not going to tell anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sometimes like tempted, on those forms that ask like, is there anyone that you would want to share
Mm.
your medical, like your reforms with, like put a name of somebody who like I put my partner's name on it, but like if I didn't like someone and I wanted them to eventually know, like if there was that, like that even the slightest bit of them to like read these like notes, I'm like, I want so and so to read that. They're never gonna know to ask for my therapy notes, but if they did,
You'd be
it would.
ready, or they would be ready. Yeah. Oh, have you, does your partner like race? Because I've noticed, you mentioned your partner it was a quick a quick turn there, but you mentioned your partner made me think about like him, that I saw pictures of you and him, like, and he was racing or something.
Yeah, he does rally racing,
Oh, okay.
which a lot of people like confuse it with like rally cross, which is kind of done in parking lots, and that is cool in itself because of all
Mhm.
the quick turns and being able to use like your own vehicle doing that. But he does it through woods, which is very
Oh, wow.
exciting, nerve-wracking for me because I get terrified of him like hitting a tree or anything like that. Um and then it's it's not great for spectators, and if you are there to support one person, if you're just there to watch cars, it's fun because you just get to see them zoom by a corner real fast.
Yeah.
But for me, like I'm standing in like either pouring rain or freezing cold conditions to like see him for 30 seconds as he goes around a corner. I'm so envious of oval track racers where they get to see just sit in one spot, see him multiple times.
Well, I was just gonna ask you, how do you
But
watch him? But you said you just stand in one spot and there he is, and that's it.
yeah, for like and they give you like spots for different stages. So you like get there, you have to walk a lot because it's like in the middle of nowhere. They give you GPS coordinates of where the spectator spot is. And I'm like, this is a challenge in itself. Like I feel like I'm on the Amazing Race. And you try to hurry, you can hear the engines going real fast and like hope that he hasn't passed yet, and I'm hustling. And I see him go by, and then I have like maybe half an hour to get to the next spectator point.
Oh,
um
wow.
Yeah, and like try to drive to where that is, and like not get in anyone's way.
Does he ever stop you at the or come to you at the end of the race like, hey, I didn't see you at checkpoint 4. What happened?
No, thankfully he's like too focused on the
Yeah,
road.
yeah. That how you watch his race reminded me of how my dad used to watch my cross country races when I was in elementary school. The parents weren't allowed to run with their kids, but he would run. He would see me, cheer me on, and then run to another spot, see me again, cheer me on. He said he did that because every time I saw him, I ran faster.
Oh, that is adorable.
Yeah. I've always been a big kid. I had no business running cross country, so I don't know why my parents signed me up for it. But apparently, I ran faster at some points because I saw my father.
Character building. They were.
Yeah. Have you ever been in the car with him?
No, he wants me. He wants me to co-drive, which like would be reading him the directions off of a notebook.
Oh, that
So
sounds terrifying.
yeah. And then I don't know if I could do it because like if he's going 90 miles an hour through like mountains, because some of the races that he does are in the mountains, I would be freaking out.
Yeah.
I would be pressing an imaginary brake pedal.
Every 5 seconds, look out.
And I have tried like reading the directions and I can't understand them that well, like L5 or right 3 6, like I don't know. It's like
So it's not one
really
of those like turn left at the big oak tree time of deals.
I would turn it into that. There's no way that I could learn their kind of direction. It's a really popular sport in Europe. Like it's like their version of NASCAR.
Okay.
So like it's a World Rally Cup or World Rally Championship. The acronym is WRC though. That's all I know. And so he'll watch those races.
Has it taken him or you to other places around the country or around the world?
He's performed, or I say performed.
Yeah.
I'm so used to stand up. You're gonna go and you're gonna get in your car. You're gonna do your little bits in your car.
Yeah, you do your little turns. Oh, okay, have fun. Hey, what about this? I got a turn for you.
Yeah, so it's taken him a lot of places this side of the Mississippi.
Okay.
This coming year he wants to hit up Minnesota. For before the pandemic, he was planning on doing a race in, it was either Barbados or Bermuda, like one of those. Wow. But he has to like find a way, a cost effective way to get his car there. Like he would have to share a shipping container with like another rally driver. It's just the races themselves, these rally races themselves, to even enter it costs like about $1,000. I was like, the ceiling of accessibility for stand up is so much cheaper.
I mean, you could hop in that shipping container and then go do a show. You know?
Yeah, it's so much easier. Yeah. I can't.
Is I mean, you're kind of biased. Is he good at racing?
Yeah, he's gotten so they separate it based on class. So he's in a two-wheel rear drive class. And so he has gotten first place in his class.
Nice.
Like consistently. So that his friends have suggested to him that maybe he get like a different car that's in a faster class, so that it's like more of a challenge for him. But I am paranoid, and I am very happy that he's in this class that he is in.
Stay in that slow car.
Yeah.
Slower car, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
wow.
slow down their Hot Wheels. We we get to make sure rein that in. And
Wow. That's exciting. I could not do that, and I could definitely could not give directions. I think it's have you I know you said you just read him. Have you just got in the car and went in the parking lot with him and tried to try to navigate that way?
no, I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah.
I have gotten in the car with him because it's since it's in a roll cage, it has the 5-point seatbelt.
Yeah.
And my hips are not built that well for that. I mean, I make it work, but it is tugging up on some places that are not comfortable. I'm like, I don't know how your co-driver does this.
Mm-mm. Well, that's cool. That's exciting. You both have an outlet. That's something I just an extra thing besides your job. That's why that nerd out question I didn't specify, but I always make it like it's not supposed to be your job. Something other than that, because your job is your job. You go to that 40 hours a week, give or take. What's something you can not have to worry about that, and it's cool to have that comedy and then have racing and is that does he have a normal job also?
Yep, he
Okay.
designs ABS systems for cars.
Oh wow. Okay. Gosh,
Yeah.
the jobs you guys have are so like has nothing to do with the other thing you do.
he this weirdly his doing like rally car driving helped him get these cars. So he or helped him get the job at the company he's with because they're
Wow.
like,
Okay.
oh, we want someone who's not afraid to get in a car and test it and see if the anti-lock brake system is working at all.
Let's see if you can stop. Wow.
And so like he goes he's out of town like most of the winter
Mm,
testing like vehicles on icy tracks because it's like the best testing conditions to see
yeah.
if that'll go. Mhm.
Jeez. So even in his regular job, it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I like panic. I'm like, well, at least with the racing, there's the roll cage, but this is just an average sedan that you're out there with.
You just did a Ford Focus, man. Come on.
Mhm.
So do you have your comedy plans? I'm assuming once you are once you are satisfied with your new material that you're putting out, is there plans to be like, hey, let's put out more albums? I'm assuming.
Yes, my goal is to record another album by late 2023. So
Okay.
late next year is record another album.
How many minutes of that album do you think you have right now?
Like 15. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a stretch. It's gonna
Sure.
be to write another another 45 minutes. Uh, 30 to 45 minutes. It's gonna be hard. But I'm hoping like giving myself that deadline
Mm.
will help push me to write more or cause me to have a breakdown, but and feel inadequate. One of
One or
those
the
two.
other. How often are you writing?
um when it hits me when
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what me too. Me too. Yeah.
I set a goal to do like 30 minutes a day, and then I bought myself this little calendar, and every time you see like writing on it, it's like I've had like a new idea. So as you can see, it hasn't
Uh,
been a daily. It's been uh
hey, as long as stuff
every
gets written every once in a while,
mhm,
yeah, you're you're
yeah.
you're working towards it. That's all right. I have on February 18th, I have to give an hour talk, and I have started an outline. I think I have half a page of of outline stuff. So, but it's about me, so it shouldn't be that difficult. But
Yeah.
but it's writing is hard. Um, it's hard for me when just sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to write this, or I'm going to write X, Y, and Z. I usually start with like, especially for speeches. I had to give a speech my football banquet for speeches. I have like 3 ideas, and I'm constantly bouncing around to each one, and then eventually one just takes over, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is the one.
That's good though. It's like being authentic to yourself. You're like, I'm gonna put the feelers out there, and then it's like an emotional Ouija board, like moving where the little pointer.
But it's I enjoy talking in front of people and giving them pep talks. I love pregame speeches. I like doing that kind of stuff, and I think giving people information or more info than they asked for. I like doing all that stuff. It's especially when I know they're paying attention to me, then at least information is getting there. And I'm pretty good at knowing like, hey, I got to talk to these 8-year-olds. They get 15 seconds. I get 15 seconds, and then they're out of here. Or I can talk to these adults for an hour, and I know they're adults, so at least they're gonna pretend to look at me.
Yeah, that's exciting. Do you get nervous talking about yourself, or do you enjoy talking about yourself?
I do enjoy talking about myself, and I have another podcast with my job. I work for the Toledo Metro Parks, and I have a podcast there, and we always ask other employees to come on, and people like, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't want to talk about myself. I always tell people everybody loves to talk about themselves. They just don't know it yet, or they don't know how much how much they actually love it. But it makes it easy. Like I said, it makes it easy when it's just me. Go ahead.
Is the speech for, is it for, or sorry, is this speech for work, or is it for like a banquet, or is it for
so it's
like
for
a performance, like a moth?
No, that I did, and I loved the moth. I want to do that more. But this is for the school system. The city we live in is Perrysburg. Their school system is having a diverse learners day. So it's the teachers and staff and faculty from the schools come to the high school and listen to people talk. So I don't know what the other who other people are what they're presenting or talking about, but they liked my premise of being a kid growing up in Perrysburg, which is predominantly white, and then now coaching here and raising my kids in the same city, and they like that aspect of those two things. So I can't fill an hour of just that. So I'm also going to talk about like my parents and how they grew up, and they were migrant workers, and how they affected us or what they told us when we were younger, and all that stuff, starting then and then going up to where I'm at now. But I think it's cool because most of the people know who I am that are going to be there. They see my name, they might sign up for the one I'm doing. So it'd be cool to share different information that they might not know about me.
Yeah. So did you have 2 siblings, your brother and your sister? Did you have more siblings?
I had an older brother, and then I have 2 younger sisters.
2 younger sisters?
Yeah.
And then one of your younger sisters lives in Louisville, and then is the other one?
My other sister lives here in town too. She still lives with my parents, and they have a house here in town. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah. So I think I met that sister at the show we did together.
Yeah, I can't remember. I have such a bad memory. But yeah, if it was here, it was probably her. I probably dragged her out to the show.
She was delightful.
Well, good.
I remember that. I remember. Yeah, because I get super shy when I go to shows, and so I like clam up and I just sit alone at a table. And then she came up and she was super welcoming and like engaging. So I appreciated that.
Well, yeah, it's nice having family here, especially with having 2 young kids. And actually she's my baby sister. She's going to help coach my daughter's softball team with me because she played softball. So
that is so awesome.
Yeah. I think it'll be good. It would be good for her too to be out and doing some other stuff. It's just besides just working, so.
Yeah, it's wild how day jobs can become so consuming. And that's also why it's important to have that other outlet that you can you can kind of lose yourself in and
Mhm.
get
How-
away.
Are you able to be like, all right, this is my 9 to 5, and after that, I don't have to worry about emails and that kind of stuff. Are they pretty good about that?
Yeah, that's also what separates this job from other jobs I've had in the past is there has previously been no work-life balance with
Yeah.
all of the other jobs I've had, and this one is fantastic about putting like hobbies or family first.
Yeah, that's that's the worst is when you think you're done with work and then you're getting phone calls or emails. And then when do you, because you're not a boss, when do you say like, hey, can you knock it off, knock it off?
Right?
Yeah.
Like I want to leave work at work, and
Yeah.
it's just haunting. It's haunting me.
I had my boss that he told me when I took this new position, he said, don't make a habit of answering phone calls or answering emails after, we work till 2:30. After 2:30, there's going to be times where you have to, but don't make a habit, because then they're always going to expect that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad he said that, because being a new supervisor, you want to be on. I feel like you want to be on top of everything. Like, oh, here's another email, here's a text or a phone call. But now I'll get it in the morning if it's not super important.
Yeah, that's good. That's so good that he let you know to do
Mhm.
that, because yeah, people you give them an inch, they take a mile
Yeah.
kind of thing with your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, speaking of time, I don't want to keep yours. I'm sure you got a lot of writing and stuff to do. So, oh no, you froze. We just are ending this podcast, and you're freezing up on me. Well, Sam, if you could hear me, thank you for being on the podcast. Thanks for. I also had a great time. I can tell you again, I had a great time at that album recording. I tell my friends your joke about where the punchline is the inside job. That's an awesome joke, and I tell a lot of people about that. So it stinks. You can't say goodbye to me. Let's see if I can reconnect you here. All right, let's see. She hopped out.
All
Okay, there you
right.
are.
Yay! Good timing. Good
Yeah,
timing.
I don't. Did you hear anything? Could you hear me at all or no?
Yeah, I could
Oh,
hear
okay.
you, and
Okay.
then it slowly like things stopped working.
Okay. Well, again, like I said, I didn't want to take up your time anymore. But I do appreciate you coming on. I wish I could see you more, because you're awesome comic, and I wish I could be around to see like your new stuff. That's one of my favorite things, is seeing new jokes, and then 6 months later, what do those jokes sound like now? So it's that's the one thing about comedy that one of the main things I miss is seeing everyone work on new jokes. So unfortunately, you are up in Michigan, but I wish you luck on your writing, and hopefully at the end of 2023, I'll be at your next album recording.
Yay, I hope so too. I hope so too. Thank you. And have fun with your super busy schedule that you are about to like, you already have one, but it's about to get even more hectic.
Yeah. That's just part of being a parent, right?
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. Thank you. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. It means the world to me if we can get this podcast off the ground and running. You don't have to share all the episodes. Just share one you like. One podcast, if you share one, could turn into a subscriber down the road. So any little bit helps. My Gmail is thenerdballpodcast@gmail.com. I'm on all the social medias: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Find me at Twitter at the Nerdball Pod. Instagram is the Nerdball Podcast, and Facebook is a page at the Nerdball Podcast. Thanks to Real JP Multimedia, Cuttlefish Graphics, Perrysburg Junior High STEM, and Big Daddy Graphics for helping out the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.